The UN's annual climate summit is underway in the United Arab Emirates. This year's summit is controversially being hosted by the CEO of the country's state oil company. But amid that controversy and the usual wrangling over who should pay for climate change, there is a new strategy.
The small island states, which are the canary in the coal mine of climate change, they are at the forefront of the devastating effects.
That's Payam Akhavan, a Canadian international human rights lawyer who made a name for himself prosecuting war crimes in Rwanda and Bosnia. Now he's turning his attention to the biggest challenge ever to face humanity, the climate emergency. In what amounts to a clever, backdoor effort at using international law, he's working with 3 tiny countries to push the big nations of the world to cut their emissions. These are countries that you would need a pretty strong magnifying glass to find on the map. Places like Tuvalu, population 11,000, Vanuatu, population 320,000, and Antigua and Barbuda in the Caribbean, population 93,000. Tiny island nations, but with just as powerful a voice under the UN system as the US or Canada. To do that, he dug up an old court case from nearly a century ago, involving a smelter in the town of Trail, BC. In a historic ruling, a joint commission found that the smelter was not only contributing to pollution in Trail, but that it had to pay neighboring Washington state for the pollution drifting across the international border.
It's called the principle of transboundary harm. International law already says that the polluter pays. If you pollute, you must pay compensation to the victim.
So where do the small island nations come in? There, Akhavan turned to another UN statute, this one aimed at protecting maritime boundaries, to argue that polluting nations are hardly protecting the coastlines of countries whose very existence is at risk. This was the foreign minister of Tuvalu standing knee-deep in ocean water 2 years ago to make that very point.
We must take bold, alternative action today to secure tomorrow.
The idea being that under the UN system, it doesn't matter if you're a tiny nation like Tuvalu or a huge one like the US. Every country's vote has the same weight. A vote to protect not just the planet, but to save humankind from its own self-destruction. Kamyar Razavi, Global News.